Okay, now I just want to share a concept with you guys that probably the most difficult thing to do in Photoshop is to select and isolate pixels correctly, which means it doesn't look like a hack or a butcher job. It's done very, very fluidly. It's done very, very professionally. So it looks like that image was part of the image to begin with. The last thing you want to do is a Lee Harvey Oswald image, the Kennedy assassination, where he basically had his rifle shadow was casting a different shadow than his body. So it was obviously a made up photo. Now, if they had Photoshop back when Lee Harvey Oswald shot the president, he would be deader than he is today. Okay, food for thought. Okay, so I just want to share with you a couple options that I have for selecting. Now, in this particular case, it's going to be very simple to select the white with my wand tool, W for wand. Now, by default, when you hit the W key, you get the quick selection tool. I want the magic wand selection tool. What the quick selection tool would do is this. If I hit the right bracket key for a second, I can actually go and I can quick select through her image. Now, what it's going to do here, it's going to mathematically take the edge from her. So it's going to basically figure out that the contrast is white. Now, if you don't want that contrast, you can basically make your tool smaller here. Okay, so I can do left bracket and make my tool smaller. Now, we can do that. Now, if this is a complicated background, that might be a good choice, right? Option key takes away from the selection. Option key takes away. Shift key adds to the selection. So Option key away from the selection and add to the selection. Add to the selection. Add to the selection. Okay. Now, in this particular case, that's not a bad choice of tools, but I'm going to deselect that. Command D. The simplest way to select this is to select the solid color, which in this particular case is white. So I'm going to choose to go to my magic wand tool. And you can get to the different tools by hitting Shift W. Shift W. If a tool has a separate tool, you can get to the separate tools by holding down the Shift key in addition to the tools. As an example, lasso, Shift L, Shift L, Shift L. Okay, so wand tool, W for wand, and then Shift W gives the magic wand tool. Now I want to talk about something very important here with the magic wand tool. Okay, magic wand tool is based on tolerance. Tolerance levels default to 32 tolerance, 32 pixel range. Now, the way the tolerance works, the higher the tolerance, the more range of pixels you're going to get. Now, what happens when I click, as an example, this white area here, I want to make sure I have her selected here. Okay, so I'm going to click right here. Right now I have this selected tolerance range. Okay, so if I was to decrease my tolerance down to say 2 as an example, and I clicked, okay, so I just want to repeat again, the way the tolerance levels work here by default, if I click an area here, so as an example, if I click here, this has different tolerance levels than clicking here. Right now, in this particular case, 32 is going to actually give me 64. 64 gives me 128. 128 technically gives me the whole range. As an example, if I was to click 128, now what does 128 represent? 128 is actually half of 256. There's 256 ranges of color per color. There's 256 ranges of red, green, blue. If you take those numbers and cube it, 256 times 256 times 256, you have 16.4 million possibilities. So 128, now where you're getting 256 from is that the range of color goes from 0, which is black, and 255, which is white. Now, since it's a computer, 0 is considered a digit because it's binary. So 0 plus 255 equals 256. So what I want to share with you, if you increase your tolerance level to 128, you're basically going to get most, if not all, your pixels. Okay, so I'm going to take this down to maybe 12. And again, I'm clicking here, not here. I'm going to type in 12. And if I click right there, that's going to get most of the white. Now I could probably adjust this a little bit more by make that 15 and deselect, and reselect. Now, very important step here, we can go to what's called refine edge. We'll talk about this more in detail in a subsequent video. So what this does is going to give a more precise edge detection, feather adjustment, etc., etc. So we can boost the radius of our selection. And we can also save these settings. Now, I just want to share that with you right now as an option. We'll go into great detail on refine edge in a subsequent video. So right now, most of her background is selected. Okay, so as an example view with the delete key right now, it's going to delete to transparency. Now, what I want to share with you is I'm going to hold down the option key to hide all the layers but her layer. So I just want to share with you that right now there is transparency in the background. That's coming from this background. I'm sorry, this is coming from the background of the layer itself is transparent. So if I hit the delete key right now, it's going to delete the transparency. Now, since this, I'm an option key again to bring back this selection. So therefore, if I hit the delete key, it's going to delete to the background, which was transparent. Now, I have some problems in here. I have some white pixels up in here, and it's not a very, very good selection. Okay, so here's a couple of techniques we can use to get us a better, crisper, sharper selection. Okay, anything about the selection is under the select menu. Based on these choices, here's my menu choices. Selection, I want to select modify selection. Modify, I could to expand the pixel selection. So let's say I want to expand this by 2 pixels. What is that going to do? That's going to tighten up the pixels by about 2 pixels. It's going to get closer to the body. Okay, now I'm not sure what I have selected and not selected, so I want to make sure I have to be very careful in this area here not to cut our fingers off, or if I had some loose hairs hanging out here, which I don't. Okay, but all in all, it looks like not a bad selection. Now, if you don't want to see which is called the little marching ants here, the selection, I can simply hit Command H. Command H hides and shows selection. Control H for Windows. Hides, shows, hides, shows. Now, what I want to share with you guys, if you do that, make sure you remember that you did that. So if I hit the delete key right now, it's going to delete that. Now, again, I still have some issues up in here. So the very best way to get a more accurate selection is to go into Quick Mask. And we'll do that in our next video.